Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. All right, welcome back, and delighted to have in the studio today Myles Davies. He's the area director of the Rogue Valley Young Life, and finally got him in the studio. I hear about you all over the valley. I know people that you know, but finally you're here.
I'm here, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. How you doing?
Doing great.
Good.
Doing great.
You guys, you got some great things going. Let me, by the way, tell our viewers and listeners, roguevalley.younglife.org is the website. roguevalley.younglife.org is the website if you want to check out the ministry. And for those who don't know, what is the main purpose of Young Life? What is it you guys do?
Yeah, our main purpose is to give adolescents and teenagers just the chance to get to know and to hear about Jesus. And you know, we go to where they are and we hang out with the kids and we show them the love of Jesus just by being with them. Wow. And that's what we get to do, and it's pretty fun.
All right.
Yeah.
Now you do this through a variety of programs, right?
Yes, a variety of ways. Yeah, we have a lot of different tools that we use, but the biggest one that we use we call contact work, and we have a team of volunteer leaders who go into the schools and mostly South Medford, and go into the school and hang out and get to know the kids kind of on their terms. You know, because so often we can sit back and say, yeah, come to me, when let's just go to them, and we get to go to them where I went to school at South and had lunch with the kids the other day, and you know, they're like, why are you here? You know, because not many adults do that. Yeah. And that's the biggest one that we have. Are
you allowed to do that, obviously?
Yeah.
And I would assume that the school welcomed you to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, especially at South, we're kind of focusing on South this year. But at South, it was, you know, they had a lot of suicides last year at South. And so to bring in something else, you know, something that has hope,
Myles, we had that statistic on our news earlier today that where people are living longer, which is a good statistic, more teenagers are committing suicide. Yeah. Why?
Yeah, they don't have hope. I mean, you know, I've heard a statistic, and I can't tell you the source or anything like that, but, you know, I think the average kid now does not have more than 3 or 4 adults in their lives, if that.
Really?
You know, they don't have any adults who are pouring into them. You know, we used to have aunts and uncles and both parents and you know, grandparents and all these people, but a lot of families just don't have that anymore. And so that's what we are striving to do, is to bring adults back into their lives and show them that, yeah, we're still here for you.
Wow.
You know,
that's wonderful. Are kids open to faith?
Yeah, yeah. I think we so often think of teenagers as not, you know, they don't want to hear anything about it. But I kind of live by the mantra that, you know, kids they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right. You know, and so we just show them how much we care, and then they're interested to hear what we have to say after they've realized that, yeah, we care about you. We don't care about our agenda. We just care about you. And so that's what we get the opportunity to do. And
do you go higher or lower in the demographic? Do you go down the middle school? Do you go up into the college?
Eventually we will. Yeah, and that's definitely a vision that I have, would be to have a middle school. We took a group of middle school kids to camp this summer, and eventually we'll get that going again. But right now we just have high school. But I would hope so that we have college and
what are some of your needs? I mean, how can some of our listeners and viewers help you?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing, you know, prayer. Is obviously the biggest thing, just to be praying, because you know, leaders who go into the schools, like, you know, Satan doesn't really want them to do that. Yeah, right, you know, and so they get attacked every time they go on. So prayers for that, prayers for our committee that is kind of heading up and sharing the vision with people, and then as well as, you know, we are in need of financial support. We need about $3,000 a month more right now to meet our monthly budget, and so we're looking for that. And we're steadily chipping away at it. You know, last month it was at 3,500, so we're making some headway.
Yeah. Volunteers. I mean, like, what do you do? Like, you help them to mentor or coach young people, or what?
Yeah. We basically, it's all about intentional relationships. We go in and we the volunteers go in and just hang out with the kids. Pretty informal, really. You know, I know that there's a couple of organizations that go in and make it pretty formal, like sign things, and that's great. But we just go in and just hang out with the kids. And really, my big heart is for discipleship, going in and hanging out with the kids and showing them the love of Christ and showing them how to walk with Christ, or showing them maybe a part of Christ that they've never seen in their lives.
You know, you can get pretty attached to these kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you manage that one?
Oh, man. Well, I just moved back over here in July, and I was over in Klamath doing this. And, you know, those kids over there, we still are on the phone about once a week.
Really?
You know, it's just because it's hard. Yeah, you get attached to these kids because you get to know them, and you spend at least, you know, we have our what we call campaigners, which is our discipleship, and we meet once a week. And it's just, it's hard to leave them, and it's hard. But over here, we'll get attached to more kids, and yeah.
How do you know when they're open to hear about the love of Christ?
Yeah, basically just by getting to know them, you know, and by hearing their story. And what we do too, we have a weekly time that we'll get going here pretty soon called Club, and there we have the opportunity to share about Jesus from you know, this is what we believe. And this is what we know to be true. This is the Jesus that we know. And then we present it to them in that way, and we don't force it down their throats. And that's a big part of what we do. And so we just kind of leave it up to them. Like, if they want to listen, they can. If they want to ignore us, they can, you know. But, you know, they get the opportunity to hear about them.
I'm sure you've had some successes and conversions.
Yes.
Can you share any with us?
Yeah, totally. Oh, man. One of the kids I was telling you about, his name, we'll call him Jason for now. He lives over in Klamath, and you know, he first came to Club over in Klamath, and like a super shy kid, and didn't want anything really to do. He came because his friend brought him, and he was like, okay, this is way outside of my comfort zone, and he was super shy, and he'd show up with like a hood on and that kind of stuff, and just because he has eczema, the skin condition, so he had rashes all over, so he was really conscious about that. But then he kept coming every week, and eventually, you know, I started to get to know him, and we took him rafting down at Adventure Whitewater down in California, and he was like, this is awesome, this is fun. Yeah. And then we took him to camp, and you know, at first he actually pulled me aside. He's like, Myles, I don't want any pictures taken of me. So, wow. Okay, well, there's a lot of cameras around here. We'll do our best. But then by the end of the week, he was just photobombing, which means, you know, you're getting in the background of people's pictures. And really, like, that's just a silly thing, but throughout that week, he found out that his identity was not in what he looked like, but in Jesus. And he gave his life to Christ, and that was 2 years ago. And this year, he's a student leader over in Klamath, and helping his friends come to know the love of Jesus.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh man, yeah.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Oh man, yeah.
Is it hard for a young person, teenager, they've accepted Christ, and they go back home into a home that doesn't believe?
Absolutely.
How do you support them in that?
Yeah, I go with the mindset that camp is not the end game. Camp is the beginning game. That we go, and then after camp, once a week, we get together with the people that we took to camp. You know, I think going to camp with Young Life is different from a typical church camp. You send them to church camp, and then you send them home, and the counselors stay there. We go back home with the kids, and we get to live life with them. And so oftentimes we're picking them up at their house and hanging out with them, going to their games. And so we try and bridge that gap, that when they come off that mountaintop experience, if you will, that, you know, we're still there. We weren't just there for the mountaintop experience, and that's really how we do that.
And I understand your camp is very impacting. I mean,
yes.
I know people who believe in it, who support it, behind it, but even some students that have gone say this is probably one of the best organized camp gatherings in the world. Yeah,
it's amazing, and I mean, I'm probably a little biased because I'm on staff with them, but it's just, you know, it's very well done. And our kind of mantra is that if we're telling kids about the kingdom of heaven, let's give them at least a little bit of a slice of it, you know. And so some kids show up and they haven't had a good meal in a month, you know, or something like that. And we'll feed them like kings, you know, endless supply of food. They get their own linen, or bed sheets, and there's all these awesome rides, and it's just really well done, and it's built so that the leader can form relationships with the kids, and I think that's what sets us apart.
Wow. Well, listen, maybe the Lord's tugging on you to get involved, support them financially, or get involved as a mentor or volunteer. You obviously need those.
Yes. Yep.
And you train them, right?
I train them, volunteer leaders and committee, whatever.
How long is the training, roughly?
The training lasts about, there's like about 9 different things to train us on. But it could go anywhere from a couple hours to a couple days, kind of thing. Okay. Kind of depends on what we're doing.
All right, roguevalley.younglife.org. That's the website, and I assume, Myles, that's the best place to get a hold of you?
Yeah, or they can email me at roguevalley.younglife@gmail.com.
Okay.
As well.
All right, again, that's roguevalley.younglife.org. or .com if you want to send them an email.
Yeah.
Well, let's stay in touch.
Okay, yeah, thanks so much for having
so you're
me.
primarily zeroing in on South, which is great.
Yes.
Big new school and a lot going on there.
Yeah.
And a little different than when you went to high school.
A little different, yeah. I was telling somebody, like, you know, it's the old South for the squeaky floors. I miss that.
Yeah, well, the wooden floor, especially there in the auditorium. But it's a beautiful campus and a lot going on there. But I don't think we understand how tough it is to be a teenager today. No, I don't think even the parents who are raising them in the home and they send them into that environment, the peer pressure, it's entirely different than when you and I went.
I mean, I was in high school 8 years ago, and it's entirely different even now. You know, it's a very hard environment to live in, where they got all these voices that are screaming at them
and
to
all
do
these
this,
gadgets
and all these gadgets that are, you know, I've got them, and I'm like, I don't want them anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, it's a hard environment.
Well,
sure.
Thanks, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And again, let me just say to our viewers and listeners, roguevalley.younglife.org. That's the website. And if the Lord's tugging on your heart to get a hold of Myles and maybe join the team, again, roguevalley.younglife.com is his email, and you may check it out there. Thanks for coming by.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll be right back.